Hey everyone, Meteorologist Ed Russo here with an update, of course, on the ongoing winter weather situation. It's been kind of non-eventful through much of the day today. It's just been kind of a light rain snow mix going back and forth, but now we have switched over to snow. It's going to remain snow. We're not going to be switching back to rain anymore. And this is kind of the evening is when we were talking about this becoming a bit more impactful. You can still see our current radar as of 5 o'clock. So this is just a screen grab of the radar about 25 minutes ago. And we still had on the immediate valley, the lower elevations, including Harrisburg, still showing some rain mixing in green there. But the entire area has now switched over to some snow. And it's been snowing kind of steady for the past couple of hours further west over Mifflin, Juniata, right down through Franklin County. And look to the east of Lancaster County, where we have that dark blue. That's another area of heavy snow. So we have two areas of heavy snow on either side of the area. And in between those heavy snow bands, the air sinks and we have much lighter precipitation. And in this situation, lighter precipitation will actually keep the atmospheric column above freezing, which is why when the precipitation is lighter, we see it continue as rain. But then when the precipitation gets heavier, we see it switch back over to snow. So from here on out, I expect the precipitation to be a bit steadier, and it's going to, for the most part, be in the form of all snow as we go through the rest of the evening and night. So already starting to get the grass coating or the grass coated in the Mechanicsburg area and the Harrisburg area. Eventually, once the sun's down completely, I don't think the snow is going to have much issue on accumulating on, especially the secondary roads. But the main roads that have been treated, still probably looking at wet roads for the next couple of hours, but even some of those main roads could become slick and slush covered as we head deeper into the evening. Let's go to the next graphic and we'll show you we still got a winter storm warning in place for the entire viewing area. That is for accumulating snow. Looking at snowfall ranging from anywhere from 2 to 4 inches in some areas, 4 to 8 over other areas that get more consistent, steady snow as we move through the region. Now we're still escaping the worst of the storm. If you look over towards New Jersey, the entire state, for the first time that I can remember, and I think actually in history, the entire state is actually in a blizzard warning. That includes also a good chunk of Long Island and Southeast New York City included in that blizzard warning as well. All of Delaware in that blizzard warning. So that's where the worst impacts of this storm are going to be. We're talking about heavy snow, over a foot, a good bet in those areas, and really strong winds, especially along the coast, could gust up to 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour, resulting in blizzard conditions. We'll show you the next graphic and show you the timing of how this snow is going to continue to play out. Again, the heaviest accumulation is really going to be from mid to late evening into the first part of the overnight. I still think the snow is going to pick up a little bit more than what you're already seeing, but it's during that time frame, mid to late evening, where roads are really going to get slick area wide. And then as we get towards pre-dawn tomorrow, I think the snow is going to lighten up, but we're still looking at a pretty sloppy, messy morning commute as roads are going to be slush covered and, of course, slick as a result. So we can go to the next slide. And we really haven't changed our forecast that much. You know, sometimes when you put a forecast together, even if it may not be panning out exactly as you expected from the get-go, it's still more often than not, forecast pans out once you keep it pretty consistent. We don't really see any reason to change. I mean, we have a range on there because of some of the uncertainties with the storm, but it could really be anywhere from 2 to 4 inches in some areas, 4 to 6 over much of the central part of the region, possibly as much as 8 inches as you head into eastern Lancaster County. I think we're probably more or less going to see the lower end of those ranges verify with the way the storm is evolving. But again, if you get stuck under one of those snow bands for an extended period of time, you could be looking at the higher end of the ranges in terms of what you see there. So this isn't a colossal mega storm for central PA. It never was going to be. It never was supposed to be. But it certainly is impactful as we're looking at several inches of snow still game for us as we go through mid to late evening and even into the overnight hours. Now, off towards the Philadelphia area, New Jersey, this is going to be a big storm. We're talking about over a foot of snow, possibly as much as 18 inches combined with some very strong winds. Now, whatever snow does fall, could blow and drift a little bit as we head through the day tomorrow because winds are going to pick up. We're looking at wind gusts 30, 40 miles an hour. But because of the heavy, wet nature to the snow, I'm not expecting much in the way of blowing and drifting. So that is some good news. Still, obviously, with winds that strong, even heavy, wet snow can get blown around. But really, the heavy, wet nature to it will tame that threat somewhat. So Sam is running the controls behind this stream, and I don't know if we have any questions that are popping up. Usually we can sometimes see them on the right-hand side there. I'm actually going to click the comments to see if okay, I can see the comments. So Pam, she said hours away. Yeah, Lancaster County, especially the eastern part of the county, is one of the spots that we're expecting higher totals. And if you're getting a lot of snow right now, that makes complete sense. So thanks for the comment. It does sound like we're getting some confirmation that eastern Lancaster County is already seeing some of the steadier snow. Tara's saying snow in West York. I'm going to thank you for the observations. This really helps. But if you have any questions, please ask away because I can see them on the right-hand side there. Amber's been saying it's been snowing in Carlisle and Mechanicsburg. Yeah, so really between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, the locations that were just light rain much of the day, it kind of just switched over like that, like a light switch. And now we're seeing generally steady snow across much of the region right now, where it's been generally a light rain much of the area. Beth Ann is saying the ground is white in Shippensburg. Not surprised. Actually, Franklin County is one of those spots that it's been snowing light to steady or light to moderate much of the afternoon, and that's why they're seeing a little bit more snow over that way. Gettysburg, Sherry's from Gettysburg saying it's snowing and laying started at 4:30. So that's when many areas that have been raining much of the afternoon actually started to see it switch over in that 4:30 to 5 time frame. China's saying she's not seeing any snow in the Harrisburg area yet. I'm actually currently in the Mechanicsburg area, and it's snowing here, and it's already starting to coat the grass. The cars are already starting to get a coating on the rooftop. Michael's saying it's now switched over to snow in Middletown. And Shelby's saying from Louisville, it's starting to lay on the road. So as we go deeper into the evening, the roads are only going to get worse. They're going to get more slick. They're going to get more slush covered. So this is something we were expecting. I mean, we were talking about last night that the snow was going to mix with rain much of the day, and the roads were just going to be wet. So that's exactly what we saw. Now we're getting into the evening around the time that we really thought the snow was going to start to stick, and that's exactly what's happened. And I think our snow map, if we can go back to the snow map real quick, that's still what we're expecting, anywhere from 4 to 6 over much of central PA. We really feel no need to change that map. It's looking pretty good as is. I will say I would think more than likely the lower end of those ranges are more likely to verify than the upper range. So if you're in the 4 to 6 area, you're more likely to be closer to 4 as opposed to 6. Corey's asking, did the storm push more east? Yeah, so a lot of the modeling yesterday had the storm a little bit further west than where it actually developed this morning. And because it developed about 50, 75 miles further east, that has a huge impact on what happens here. Just a 50-mile difference in track can make a difference between, several more inches of snow. So that's why we're thinking the lower end of that range, the ranges there are more likely at this point. Melanie's saying it's snowing in Newport. I'm going to see if I know a lot of you are posting your observations, and that's great. That gives me an idea on what's going on across the area. But yeah, if you have any questions, Robert's saying blizzard conditions. Yeah, not expecting blizzard conditions here. We've never expected blizzard conditions here. That is going to be over towards New Jersey and even the Philadelphia area. Let me see if there's any more questions here. I know a lot of you are asking away, and please, that's the purpose of these streams, so you can ask questions and I can interact with you on the fly live. Yeah, I don't want to just be talking to myself, right? So please, any question you have, please ask away. All right, I'm just scrolling here, seeing if I missed anyone. Let me go down here. Okay, so I just had okay. So Andy's saying, do you think lesson 4 for Upper Dolphin? Yeah, I think Upper Dolphin is still game to see anywhere between 4 and 6 at this point. I would think 4 inches seems more likely than 6. But again, these storms are often fluid. If you just get one band that pivots over you and doesn't move much for several hours, you could end up with some lollipop higher totals compared to the rest of the area. But in general, right now, thinking 4 to 6 is more or less going to be the average of what we see over much of the area. Locally higher amounts, locally lower amounts are always in play with these types of setups. Tyler's asking, is there a chance this could possibly come back west? There's a chance some of those heavier bands over towards the Philadelphia area could migrate west into the area. I really don't see them making it as far west as, say, Harrisburg or York, but certainly into Lebanon and Lancaster County, I could see those snow bands working in there. I don't think that's particularly likely at this point. But if we do get a couple heavier snow bands that move west into Lancaster and Lebanon, and they park themselves over that area for a couple of hours, yeah, you could be looking at certainly 8-inch amounts, maybe even a little bit higher in a few locations. I can tell you Welsh Mountain, which is a higher elevation of eastern Lancaster County, higher elevations always perform better. They squeeze out more moisture. Also, some of the higher elevations around Mount Gretna could also get some higher amounts than what you see on the range there, simply because they're higher in elevation. And those areas have probably been snowing much of the afternoon because they're also higher in elevation. All right. Corey says 5 inches in South Mountain, Franklin County. I would not be surprised. South Mountain between Adams and Lancaster County, or not Adams and Lancaster County, between Adams and Franklin County. Of course, that's where Michaud State Forest is. That's where Pine Grove Furnace State Forest is. I mean, some of those elevations in there are over 2,000 feet, and those areas have been snowing all afternoon. They haven't really been seeing the rain. So I would not be surprised if some of those areas were already at 4 or 5 inches. So really, elevation can make a huge difference on how much you see. Trish is asking about how bad the wind is going to be in Shippensburg and Carlisle. Good question. I do think the winds are going to pick up overnight and certainly through the day tomorrow. I don't really see blowing and drifting being a huge issue because the snow is heavy and wet, but with 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts, that can easily still blow around heavy, wet snow. But I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. But I do think we could have some wind gusts up to 40, maybe even over that a little bit. Along the coast, though, as you get towards the coastal plain, we could be looking at wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. I mean, this is going to be a pretty strong storm as it really intensifies as it moves up the coast. Let me see if there's any more. So Tyler's asking when the wind should start. Really thinking overnight we're going to see them pick up. I think we see the worst of the winds tomorrow morning into the early part of the afternoon. So the temperatures currently in the Harrisburg area. Let me check something here real quick. The temperatures are still in the low to mid 30s. And we're seeing the snow stick on the grass. So that just tells you temperatures don't need to be freezing for the snow to stick. And there really is truth to the snow falling faster than it melts. Wherever that happens, that basically means the snow is falling faster than it has time to melt. So that's how you can get snow-covered roads, even though the temperature is 33, 34 degrees. So don't assume because you're at 34 that you can just run an errand and not run into any slick roads, because we could see some slippery travel, even with temperatures above freezing, if the snow falls fast enough. Let me see any more questions. Amy is asking about, do you know how it will be tomorrow morning in Elizabethtown? I have to work tomorrow morning. I do think we're going to see really sloppy conditions in the morning, slick roads and whatnot. I think we're going to see plenty of 2-hour delays, probably some school closures, but just something that you have to allow extra time for. This is not going to be a debilitating storm where roads are going to be completely impassable, but definitely something that you want to allow extra time for in the morning, because really during the heart of the overnight, whatever snow is still falling, we're going to be right around the freezing mark. So the snow at that point, especially on non-treated secondary roads, should have no problem sticking and making things a little bit slick. I'm scrolling back up here, seeing if I have any more questions. But no, this helps a lot when you all tell me what you're seeing in your area. I mean, I can get a pretty good idea by looking at the radar, but personal observation really helps us out in figuring out what much of the area is seeing. So it's a big help, and I want to thank you all for participating. But yeah, I think I got everyone's question. So we're going to do this again. And we're going to do it probably around 8:30 tonight. By that point, the storm will have picked up a little bit more. We're probably looking at a few more problematic road spots. So tune back in around, I guess, 8:30 is when we'll be doing this again. And really the point of these is to really help answer your questions, because I know I got to tell you, there's so much stuff that you see online. You don't know what's true, what's not. And sometimes it's just better to ask somebody directly. So that's why we have these streaming videos, these live streaming videos, so we can kind of clear the air for you on what's going to happen. But there's still a lot of garbage on social media talking about how the storm is going to be huge in central PA, and it's not. It's going to be impactful. You're going to need to plan around it. It's nothing we haven't seen before. It's not going to be as bad as what we saw back in January. It's going to be bad out east, don't get me wrong, towards Philly and New Jersey. But yeah, so we're just trying to clear the air of that. This is just going to be another run-of-the-mill storm that just causes some travel impact and some slush, ice-covered roads as we go through the overnight from snow, not freezing rain or sleet or anything like that. Okay, so we got a couple more questions here. So much of the area is snowing right now. I know some of you might be looking out your window and you're not seeing it snow. Sometimes you actually have to look at that light outside and look next to the light. It's hard to see when you're going from at around dusk. It's hard to see the snow actually falling. So if you look at a light pole, you'll be able to see that the snow's fallen pretty good, because area wide we're seeing generally light to moderate snow right now across the area, and expecting conditions to continue deteriorating as we go through the evening. But we're going to have another stream coming up at 8:30, another 21 Next at 8:30. And then, of course, TJ and I will be on the news on the CW at 10 o'clock, and then CBS 21 News at 11. So we'll see you then.